we are walking through this whole thing with family and with marriage. And it's very important, and God just laid that on my heart, that this is the key to everything that we see going on in culture and society and everything, the breakdown of the family, the breakdown of the home, and just really to minister and to drill down on it and into it. One of the reasons is so that way they're out there, they're on our YouTube, they're everything. They're always going to be something that you will be able to revert back to and to watch and to be able to draw strength from in your family, in your marriage, and see the things that God has instituted and puts forth for a good marriage, for a family that's going in the right direction. And so many times, as I've pointed out before, is we get off track and we forget that marriage and family work 100% of the time, 100%, when it follows what God has laid out structurally in the Bible. When you veer off course, just like with anything, you get off course, things go haywire. But when you bring that back in and you bring it under and you submit to the Word of God and you allow God to minister into your life and into your family's life and into your marriage, things change. Things begin to go in the right direction. Now, it doesn't mean, as far as when we talk about marriage, I've told you that there's three things, that there's times where things don't work out in marriage. And you do see people get divorced. And that does happen. But it didn't have to get to that point. Everything was already off course to start with. Right. Okay? You're not, people that flow through those things, it isn't because of God. It isn't because of God allowing anything or doing anything. It's because within the structure of that family, within the structure of that marriage, it's already off course. Yeah. And so it just continues to follow the ways of the world. And then things begin to go kind of sideways and things happen. But, so we dealt with last week and was kind of ministering to the ladies about three things that guys need. Everybody remember what those were? Right? Guys need respect, that feeling of respect in the home. Sex, we talked about that. And then they also need companionship, friendship. And many times, the ladies are like, he's always great with his friends, but not with me. Well, sometimes there's just issues there. And we talked about those three areas. So today, I'm going to minister to the guys and about the needs of a lady and his wife. And so in this part of our Marriage Matters series, I'm going to go down that road. Now, next week, I'm going to go down another path. We're talking about the needs. We're talking about the things that we need to pay attention to and see what we need in our marriages from a male standpoint and a female standpoint, a husband and a wife standpoint, and what is needed on both sides. Next week, I'm going to deal from both sides about what's destructive to your marriage. Destructive type personalities. Destructive type things within marriages that creates bitterness, that creates anger, that creates strife, that creates division, and all those things. See, we got to deal with that too. I can't just stand here and tell you all the things that, okay, here's what you need to be doing, when most of us have some element of these other things that we're going to talk about next week that are destroying your marriages and destroying it all across this nation and all across this world. That's why we have such a high divorce rate. But, so, that being said, let me start out this way. I can probably relate to us guys a little bit from this aspect as I was kind of putting things together. As I remembered back in my youth and in my days of every guy in here can remember that day when, you're almost 16 and you're thinking about getting a car. Your first car, your first truck, whatever it may be. This is a picture of my first one. A 76 Cutlass. Mine was black. It was just exactly like this. And, we're always thinking, and when we're saying, we've got this excitement, it's a sense of freedom. It's a sense of, it's that sense of the shininess. We're looking at all the how good it looks and how the paint shines, and it smells good and it's mine, and you get this freedom feeling and all of these type of things, and all you're thinking about is, man, how fast will it go, and what's the pipe sound like, and what kind of tires do I have? And I mean, young guys, they'll pump so much money in a car to blow your mind, you know. And many times it's still a hunk of junk. They'll have more money in a stereo system than they'll have in a whole car. And you know, and you hear that going down the road, you know, thump, 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 thump. And you've all heard them. But we think of those things and we get all excited about them. But what we don't think of are all the maintenance costs. We don't think of all the gas that car is going to suck. We don't think about the tires we're going to have to replace. We don't think about the breakdowns alongside of the road. We don't think about having to replace a windshield. We don't think about when it has an antifreeze leak. We don't think about when it's burning oil. We don't think about all of those type of things. All we're thinking about is, man, look at it. Whew, sleek. Looks sharp. Shiny. I remember in that Cutlass, I was so excited to get this. So I had worked, had about $1,000 to spend, didn't take my dad, didn't get any wisdom. I just read it in the newspaper. I know I'm pretty sure everybody here is old enough to remember newspapers and things of that nature. But I saw that car, so it was like I run down south of Bloomington, and so I go to look at it, and there it is. It's all shiny and laid out and everything. Oh, pop the hood up. Oh, they'd painted the engine all orange and got it all dolled up and looking, and I take it out and take it for a test drive, and you know, I'm going down the road, everything seems fine, you know, to me, and I take it, and so I buy it, you know, boom, there's your $1,000. I go home, and Dad, he's like, so what do you know about that car? I'm like, man, doesn't it look good though, Dad? He's like, no, I don't care about that. He said, let me take it for a drive. He takes it for a drive. He goes out. Immediately, you know, he could smell oil burning. I didn't care. It looked nice. I looked good in it. He takes it, tromps on it, just keeps going. No passing gear in it. Then guys, you know, you tromp the accelerator, it gears down and it takes up. Yeah, didn't work. Try down, we get out, you know, he's looking and back. He goes, huh? So did you happen to notice they spray painted your back seat? No. But boy, doesn't that paint look nice? It looked nice, Dad. So yeah, this car's just going to be trouble for you. No. That thing drank oil. Drank oil. I was working up at my uncle's farm and been working up there and doing everything all day. So I'm coming home, you know, I go up there, I get my check. I don't have a dime to my name. I'm trying to get to the bank and so I can cash it and stuff, because I know it's going to need oil, because it always needs oil and stuff. And I get coming down old 37. Actually, I end up on old 37. I'm heading up into Bloomington and everything, and this thing starts crackling, starts making noises, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, all I got to do is I just got to get up. I'm like 2 miles from getting this check cashed at the IGA, if anybody remembers those, and I'm just, you know, I need to get this car there. Everything will be all right, and off side of the road. I locked that thing up tighter than a wedge. Burn it up, plumb no oil. Didn't make it there. Why? Because I didn't consider the cost of the maintenance that it was going to take. How many of us run our marriages like that teenage boy, looking for that new car, that unexpected car? Doesn't care. You see, because even when you're out there and when a guy's young and this and that, he's shopping at looks. He's looking at what the outside looks like. He's what triggers him, what makes him feel good. And yeah, this nice looking little lady over here and this girl over here and this and that. Not thinking of the maintenance that it's going to take to foster a relationship and take care of that relationship through the course of that marriage. Just like I didn't with the course and through the course in the life of that car while I had it. I never saw that car again. Left it on the side of the road, made a few phone calls, said, hey, got you a free car, you want to come pick it up? It's burned up, locked up, can't do nothing with it, whatever. Lost the car, moved on from it, went on. Never saw it again. We treat our marriages the same way. Willing and ready to move on at the drop of a hat because we didn't do the maintenance that it took to take care of the investment that we made. You see, we make that covenant with God and with our spouse. And there's responsibility, just like in the maintenance program to a car, there's responsibilities to a relationship. Yeah. And when you neglect those, things break down. And the problem is just like with that first car, that pleasure of that first car. We like to have the fun without responsibility. And many times, guys are really bad about that. We like the fun that it brings, but we don't want the responsibility of what it takes to grow and foster that relationship and to maintain that relationship. You see, what happens is then things begin to go awry, and then the temptation comes to do just what I did with that car, that Cutlass on the side of the road, is to abandon it when things go sideways. Moving away from our problems. See, that's what I did. I left the car on the side of the road, made a few phone calls, somebody towed it off. I didn't have to deal with it no more. Instead of dealing with the problem and fixing it and taking care of it, it would have been fine. Instead of doing that, all I wanted to do was just remove myself from the problem instead of addressing it. We do that in our marriages. We can't, like I did with the car, we can't just abandon and turn from our relationships at every drop of the hat. Every time there's an issue, every time things are happening to us. We have, men, you have, so do the ladies, we have a responsibility to fix it versus abandon it. Things in society nowadays are geared too easily to just give up, move on, abandon it, and not address the issues. That's how we do our families. Many times, that's how we do church. Everybody remembers the 11th commandment. The most important commandment of all, thou shalt not offend. Because, as I was telling a brother this morning, the spirit of offense runs rampant in the church of today. People get offended over everything, and then what do? We abandon. We run. We go a different direction. And we do it in our relationships. We do it in our marriages. You don't get the benefits without putting in the work. Same with your cars. You don't maintain it, it will break down. You don't maintain your marriage, it will break down. I promise you, somewhere along the line it's going to break down. We have to understand and have that understanding in our marriages that they are valuable. There is value in that, what God brought together and joined together, but it requires maintenance. Us guys, we're not real good with maintenance. Many guys, they'll maintain their cars better than they maintain their relationship. They'll maintain their stuff more than they'll maintain their relationship. And we see them being destroyed left and right. You can't have a marriage without commitment. And commitment comes with the maintenance program. So, we have to understand that our spouses, gentlemen, they're there to be our friend. Yes, remember that was one of your needs. Our lover. Sexually on that side for a guy, not so much for a gal. That side of it too. That companion for life. But it doesn't just come naturally with you sitting there and doing nothing. You have to maintain that relationship. You see, last week I gave you 3 points. Now there's others, but I gave you 3 points for a man. Well, ladies, I got to give you 4. They're a little more complicated. They're a little bit more on the emotional side, more on the needy side. That isn't a bad thing, guys. We treat it as if it is, but it isn't. But you have to understand that we have to maintain it. That's your responsibility. That's the part men of today do not realize. It is your responsibility to manage that and take care of that. It's going to require effort, commitment, and regular maintenance if you want a lasting relationship and you want a lasting marriage. Here's the anchor scriptures that we're going to go with today. Ephesians 5:25 through 29. God gives it to us right here. Husbands, love your wives as, so he's saying just like Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her. Now this is talking about what Christ was doing here. Sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of the water with the word, so that he might present the church to himself in splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. He goes, in the same way, husbands. So he just gave you an example of Christ's leadership. Remember, submission, I've already taught you, it's dealing with leadership principles that God has instituted into the family. It isn't about dominance. That needs to get washed out of the church's head and men's minds. I've proven that all through Scripture. Okay? In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. Interesting, he goes there. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as Christ does the church. Gentlemen, God is telling you here, you need to love your wife like Christ loved the church. He's saying the example that Christ gave, and we're going to see that in all 4 of these points. The example that Christ gave to the church is exactly the way you're supposed to love your wife. You see, all through growing up and just discussing things with men and this and that, they all got bent on wives, submit to your husbands. They all got bent on wives, respect your husband. But they forget that is all hinged upon you loving your wife the way that Christ loved the church. She don't owe you that a bit if you don't love her the way Jesus loved the church. See, you want your cake and eat it too. You remember, back to the car. I want the fun, but I don't want the maintenance. Same thing with the wife. I want the fun of having the spouse there all the time to fulfill my needs and her to be there and at my beck and call. But I don't want the maintenance that goes along with it. I don't really want to love her like Christ loved the church. That's the problem going on because you've been sold a bad bill of goods. You've been sold something that God didn't teach. He taught you to love her first. And gentlemen, I promise you, if you love your wife and you put her first in your life, that's what he's saying. You put her needs above your needs. Did you get that in that? Is that not exactly what Christ did? He put the needs of the church, the people, he put the needs of them above his own needs. He went to a cross and died for the church. He went to a cross and died so that you could be saved and I could be saved. He has a sacrificial love, and he's saying we have to love our wives that way. But you will be amazed. All of this that you're wanting from your wife, you will be amazed how she will naturally gravitate towards that when you love her like Christ loved the church. So let's look at and let's see these 4 things that women need in a relationship. First thing a woman needs, she needs to feel secure. She needs to feel secure in that relationship. She needs to feel that coming together, there's this safety, just like Christ gave that to the church, right? She needs to feel that she is consistently loved. That makes her feel secure. And that all comes from that thing that I just spoke of with a man showing a sacrificial love to his wife. She needs to feel that, gentlemen. She needs to feel that she isn't number 10 on your list. She wants to be number 2 right under Jesus on your list of the loves of your life. When your car is above her, when your truck is above her, when your job is above her, when your stuff is above her, and she feels like all she is just there, things don't go good, guys. I know in this day and age, you got to go, I'd have to throw in others, and I know there's some here, and I like them too, so I date myself. I grew up through it all. When your wife is hollering at you to spend time with her, and you spend 6 hours on your Xbox, you spend 6 hours on your PS5, it is now, I guess, and she's screaming in your ear for attention, and you don't get it. It's because you're not on the maintenance program. You're being selfish, and it's all about you. Now, if she's fine with it, that's different. But what I'm saying is when she's coming at you, asking for that quality time to spend with you, everything you're telling her is she is not secure in this relationship. Because you love everything above her. She needs to feel secure. She needs to have that sense heightened within her that she's a priority to you. Is that right back to the question? Is that not how Jesus loved the church? Right? She needs to see that you're showing this commitment to sacrifice for her and her needs. And isn't just about your needs. It shows her that consistency over and over that she doesn't have to worry about or even think about. You're not going to take care of her in some form or in some fashion. Do little things, guys. You know another thing that makes her feel secure? And I'll just use this as an example. It's going to be different with each lady. That romantic side that maybe just leave her a note on the fridge. No, I'm not talking about a shopping list. I'm not talking about, hey, this needs cleaned up. I'm not talking about that kind of list. I'm talking about a list that says, hey, I know I probably haven't said this in a while, but I just want you to know how much I love and appreciate you and everything that you do for me and my family. And I know I neglect that sometimes, and I'm sorry for that. But I want you to know how much you mean to me. That melts your wife. That will melt her right where she's standing. She may never say anything, but more likely she's going to go, you have no idea what that meant to me. You have no idea. You made my day. You might get that text. You might get that phone call. Hey, I found your note. You have no idea what that did to me. You have no idea how much I needed that. Gentlemen, that's maintenance. That's taking care of the needs of your wife. That's being sacrificial to her. That's that romantic side that she needs. Because they're less physical and more emotional and need that side. Maybe she wakes up, maybe you leave before her at work and she wakes up, and I've done these type of things, not throw my stuff out there, but I've done this before where I've went somewhere before, I've stopped along the road on the way, on the night before, and I've just bought Sherry a card or maybe a flower or whatever, and I'm always up before she is, and I'm off to work and stuff, and I'll just lay it there on my pillow. And she wakes up and here's this card. Or she wakes up, here's this rose. The first thing that she sees and rolls over and everything, even if it's to roll over and snuggle my pillow, that's going to be there for her. And that gives her a sense of security and feeling, I don't have to worry. He really does love me. He didn't have to do this. He just did it. That's the type of things she needs to feel secure. She also needs to know that you are consistent in providing for her and her family. Guys, don't be a guy. Those who are watching this playing the home version. Don't be a guy where, you think it's a badge of honor to go, yeah, I've had 37 jobs in the last 2 years. That does not speak security to your wife financially. That shows her weakness. That gives her a feeling that she could wake up tomorrow and you're unemployed. Bills to be paid, kids to be clothed, mouths to be fed. She needs to feel that sense of security. Another thing that she needs within the security side of things. Guys, she needs that she can trust you. She needs to know that she can trust you, and she needs to know that everything in you is honest. You're not going to lie to her. You're not going to string her along. You're going to be trustworthy. What you tell her, your word is your word, and that what you say is exactly the way it is. She needs to know, to feel secure in your relationship, that she can 100% trust anything that you tell her. Never give her a reason not to trust you. Wives, don't give your husband a reason not to trust you either. But security comes with a feeling of being able to trust the other person. When you lose that, when that gets damaged, trust is the hardest thing to ever gain back in a relationship. It will take years. And it may not be anything major, but they know if you weren't honest and trustworthy here, what else aren't they being trustworthy about? What else? Maybe they lied. Maybe they stretched. Maybe they didn't come clean. What else are they trying to manipulate me with? Don't do that. It tears down. It breaks things. Trust will be the hardest thing you will ever restore to your relationship if you lose it. Second thing, I talked about this a little bit last week. I talked about how men are visual, right? Men are visual. We see the things physically. And women not so much. They're more emotionally and they come at things that way. I told you last week, one of the things for guys was the need for sex. And what did I tell the ladies? I said, be more sexual than you feel at times. Because it's a need that he has. But gentlemen, now here's your side that you need to listen. That is not high on the list for your wife. That doesn't mean she isn't attracted to you. That doesn't mean there aren't exceptions to the rule. It doesn't mean that she doesn't love you in that way. I'm just telling you, she wasn't created with the need for sex in a physical way the way that you were. What she was geared toward and what God created her towards is that emotional need. She needs that soft, gentle, sexual, non-sexual affection, that holding of the hand, that putting your arm around her, that walking through a mall, while you're holding her hand in front of everybody else, just reaching down and grabbing it and going. That thing that you just sit down on the couch and put your arm around her. Because I guarantee you walk across the room, sit down on the couch and put your arm around her and just look at her. Hey, first thing she thinks, he's wanting to go to the bedroom. That's the first thing she thinks. Why? Because that's the way we're programmed. She knows you're physical, and she knows she needs your emotional love. She wants you to be strong. She wants you to be a lion. But she wants you to be a lamb with her. She wants you to be gentle with her. She wants you to love and just put an arm around her and caress her and just be there for her. Not just because she woke up in the morning and went, oh, I love you. Oh, is it go time? No. Or she says, would you just hold me? Or you come up and you know how guys are. Hey, everybody knows I tell how it is, right? You know how guys are. Wife's over there cooking, doing something in the kitchen. You come up behind her, put your arms around her in different ways, let's just say. And everybody giggling. And you go, do you have to do that every time? Can you not just put your arms around me and love me? Can you not just give me a bear hug and just give me a little chicken peck on the neck? Why is it You see, guys, it's about maintenance. She doesn't need that you need. And you want her to acknowledge and fall in line with that, but you have to do the same. Remember, I told her, I said, you be more sexual than you feel. Gentlemen, I'm telling you, be more affectionate, non-sexually, than you feel. Because she isn't going to the places that you're going to. And she needs that. She needs that kind of intimacy. I promise you, most guys in here, at some point in their marriage, if they've been married long at all, you have had the very conversation that I am talking about right now, where she is explaining to you that this is what she needs. Can you just hold me? Can you just love me? Can you just touch me? Can you just give me a kiss? Why does it always have to lead to the bedroom? Because then what happens is she feels like an object and not a wife. She feels like somebody that's just an object in your life and not somebody that as Christ loved the church. Did Christ not love the church affectionately? Non-sexually, but affectionately? Yes, he did. So we need that, and we have to unlearn just that whole aggressive side that us guys have towards the sexual side of it, and always going to that direction and realizing and learning these non-sexual, affectionate behaviors that our wives need. We need to give that to them and pour that into their lives because that's in need of theirs. You may not need it as much as she does, but guess what? She doesn't need the physical side of it that you do, but you want her to give you that. Well, guess what? It's all about maintenance. She is giving the maintenance side to you. And now it's our turn to give that same type of maintenance to her. Third thing. All right, guys. Communication. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Oh, guys are like, well, I do communicate. I do that all the time. No, here's your communication. How's things at work? You get home. How's things at work today, babe? All right. Talk to anybody? No. What's wrong? Oh, nothing. See, to a guy, we just communicated. She's wanting details. She's wanting to know where you're at. What's going on? She's needing that kind of communication. That is an intimate thing for a woman, and she appreciates that kind of openness and opening up to be able to communicate emotionally and mentally with her. Now, ladies, let me give you a little caveat to that. Sherry and I had to have this conversation years and years ago. She's way better at it now. We had some humdingers early on. Because early on, I drove a semi. I'd be gone all week. And if anybody knows that lifestyle, you're just going. It's insane. You know, you go 10 hours on a vacation trip and you're wore out when you get there because of the drive. A truck driver does that every day, all day long, 10 hours, 12 hours a day. Okay? So you can imagine. But, and now when I say this is still, I was a truck driver. Most of you guys haven't been, but I bet you this is going to ring true in your hardworking life as well. Walk through the door. Well, this is going on, and Amber did this, and Alyssa, she's just squalling all the time, and Tiffany, she cut Amber's hair, and I don't know what I'm going to do with that, and everything. And then this bill collector's called, and we got to take care of this, and this is going. This is within 30 seconds of walking through the door. Every problem that's went on during the week, everything that's happening, everything that, and she's just needing some adult conversation. But she's also, and then the fridge is down, and I'm having trouble, the water pressure, I don't know what's going on with that. And every problem in the world, 30 seconds into walking through that door, finally, after a bunch of blow-ups, I finally had to explain to her because I wasn't communicating well. I said, okay, babe, I understand all of that. None of that's changing. I said, but here's what I need. I will communicate. I will talk to you about all that stuff. We'll get all this stuff solved. But when I walk in, just let me come in, sit down, chill, glass of tea or something, and let me decompress. and then we'll handle all the problems of the world together. You have to give your husband some space at different times to decompress so that you don't get all of the stuff from the world that he's been dealing with. The blow up had nothing to do with you. It had to do with the 5 people that they dealt with at work today. But we have to give them space. Yes, gentlemen, you need to communicate more and more thoroughly with your spouse. Let her know how you're feeling. Let her know the troubles you're dealing with. Let her know all those things. But ladies, give your husband time to decompress when he gets home and deal with those things together. Don't overload him when he's just came from a situation where he's already overloaded, because it always ends up fireworks. Okay? And so there's nothing wrong, gentlemen. It doesn't make you weak to communicate. That is a need of your wife. That is part of the maintenance program. You have to take and put in that maintenance into your wife and pour that into your spouse that she needs. And communication is huge with that. Let me give you an example. In the workplace, that's one of the huge things I have to do is communicate. Many of you maybe are in positions and different things where you have to communicate. You can do it there. How come you can't communicate with your wife? How come you can't communicate? You communicate with the boss just fine. But see, if you communicate with her, it's all part of breaking down her place of insecurity and feeling like she doesn't feel secure, feeling like she isn't heard, feeling like she isn't a part of this relationship. And she sees you communicating and doing all this stuff all day long with other people or someone else. And so now she needs you to be that for her. And when we can serve our boss or our employment that way, there's no reason we can't serve our spouse that way, because she has an even greater need, and that need is even more important to you because of the whole relational aspect of marriage. So we all have to be able to start to communicate better. Let me explain something to you guys. This is back to the whole thing of men being more physical, women being more emotional. They've been programmed differently. At times, not all situations and everything, but yes, ladies, at times, us men are pigs. And the reason I say that is this. Most women do not step out on their husbands or commit adultery because of sex. Now for you men, this is the pig part. Because you are physical, because you do have those kinds of needs, and you feel like you're not getting that at home, then the grass looks greener on the other side, and you do step out many times, most times, for that reason. That's why a guy can go, she didn't mean anything to me. He's probably telling you the truth. Because he's just after that physical side. But gentlemen, I'm telling you this right now. When women cheat, now I'm painting with a broad brush, when women cheat, when women commit adultery, it isn't because of sex. It's because of lack of communication. It's because of lack of affection. It's because of a lack of feeling secure. That's why most times when those relationships happen and they come up and adultery ends up occurring, and things of that nature, it started with a text. It started with a cup of coffee at work. It's because she begins to look at and search out and strive for that communication gap, that affection gap, and that feeling of not being secure in her relationship and in her marriage. That's what turns her head. It doesn't mean she doesn't see a guy as attractive or this or that. I'm not saying that, because it all builds to that. But what she is attracted to, because this is an unfortunate thing, but I'm just going to call it how it is. When women, when they get in that situation and they feel that, and anybody that's walked down that road, and was talking to different ones. When that isn't met, she is trading this to get that. She's trading the thing that she really don't care about, which is sex, for the part that she's starving for, which is communication, which is feeling loved, which is feeling important, which is feeling communicated to and secure, and feeling like she has affection and someone that'll look her in the eyes, and she feels like they're there with her instead of just, drifting off and staring off, because of some shiny truck or the next new this or that or whatever. And she feels that, and that's what begins to make her drift. It isn't the sex that makes her drift. It's the lack of the communication. It's the lack of the affection. It's the lack of not feeling secure. The last thing that a lady needs in a relationship, she wants a man who she can trust to lead. Remember back to that trust thing. She wants that leader in her life, but she has to trust you to let go. You see, when she doesn't let go, most of the time it's because she don't trust. Now, understand this too, men. That trust may have been broken, not by you, but you're paying the price for the guy before you, the two guys before you, a marriage before you, whatever. You may be paying the price because of what's been done to her as a child when she was 8 years old. You don't know the circumstance. It may not have been you. I'm not painting the brush that it's always because of you. But what I'm saying is that's why maintenance is so important, because you have to tear down those problems and those issues that are in your spouse's life. Tear those things down so that you can help her to rebuild trust so that she can let go. That's going to be one of the things we're going to talk about next week. That is a destructive spirit. It's a destructive thing within, whether it's a woman or a man, but that is that side of dominance and control. It's destructive. But she has to trust who she's giving that up to. And she wants to be led by a man who she can trust that way, who she knows is going to provide the security, who she knows that she's just not an object to, who she knows that he's going to communicate with. That, she wants that. She wants you to make decisions. She wants you to lead a family. But the problem is, most women don't trust their husband to do that. And I'll also show you in Scripture where there's a reason for that. It's more than just what may have happened to you. That's all the way back to the garden. That issue is all the way back to the garden. But she needs you to be a spiritual leader in the house. She needs you to be involved at some level. Maybe she's better with it, but you still need to be involved together from a financial aspect together. She needs to have that trust. She needs to have that trust for you both to be on the same page when it comes to disciplining children, raising children, belief structure within your children. How are we going to deal with this together? She needs to know that you are involved and that you are going to be a part of that. And she needs that level and that feeling of trust for her to let that guard down and allow you and to get out of the way while you try to lead. It's all part of that structure that God put in us within our marriage and within our relationships. She needs to feel that she can trust you guys. So, we'll wind this up. Those 4 things that your spouse needs: security, non-sexual affection, she needs communication, and she needs leadership out of you. We have too many, and I'll get into this next week, we have too many passive-aggressive men out there. There's a fine line. You can't be dominant, thumb in the forehead, overbearing over here. You know why? Because she feels violated when you're that way. She goes back to feeling like an object. She's nothing. She doesn't matter. She has no say-so. She's just a doormat. That's how she feels. Don't do that. But she's also not looking for a passive-aggressive guy either. She's looking for a well-balanced, man who knows his role as a leader, not as a dominator, and understands those principles. And I'm telling you right now, you get that from the Word of God. You get that from what Jesus has modeled. Everything in your family and everything in your marriage is about what has Jesus modeled to the family and to the nucleus of marriage and everything and what goes along with that. What has he modeled? That's why we do this, gentlemen. That's why we love our wives as Christ loved the church.